Welcome back to the Potty Besties. Today, I want to have a wee chat around some strategies on what to do, how to stay steady when everyone around you is talking about food, or they're talking about their weight or health, right? That is diet talk. And diet talk is absolutely rife in our world, and it can be super hard to be around sometimes, especially if you are on a recovery journey. I mean, you can be eating regularly, you can be off my fitness pal, you can be making peace with carbs, doing all the stuff that you would have been listening about on the pod. But then you can walk into, say, the staff room and someone is in there chit chatting with everyone else about how they have just started Ozempic or they've just started a new diet. Maybe they're watching their macros or they're saying, I don't eat between noon and 3 p.m. anymore. It's better for my insulin. Or I've cut sugar again. Or maybe every time you go out for brunch with a particular group of girlfriends, you hear that same kind of diet talk popping up there too. And I mean, that could sound like things like, I better not get the waffles because I'm being good. Or maybe it's, I guess I'm just going to have to work all of this off later. Or maybe you go out for dinner with your family, maybe your parents, and you hear them saying things to you like, oh, honey, that's a lot of pasta. Or, oh, are you sure you should be having seconds, honey? Or, I don't know, another biscuit. Oh, you're very brave. I mean, every group of people are having these conversations. They are around us all the damn time. And I know it is absolutely exhausting and sometimes can be quite dysregulating. All of that kind of messaging can have really quite a big impact and it can cause a shift. Maybe not anything too dramatic, maybe not a total spiral, but maybe a bit of like a tightening, right? You know what I mean? That tight feeling, that feeling where you feel like you're just going inside yourself a little, retreating, maybe a little anxious knot in your tummy that starts to pop in, or maybe that food noise just starts to kind of increase that kind of tightening. Yeah. When you're surrounded by diet talk, it's a natural response to have. So let's unpack that today. Let's talk about it. And I really want to touch on it because most women don't slip back into diet culture or start binging again because of one single cupcake. I mean, those wobbly moments or really slipping back into those old ways of being are usually a result of the environment and that constant messaging coming their way. Now, what is really going on with diet talk? First of all, I think that diet talk is like a little bit of social shorthand, if you get what I mean. So, the example would be if someone says, "Oh, I feel so disgusting after this weekend." They're not saying that to you because they're asking for nutritional advice, are they? I mean, think of whenever you've said that to someone else. What they're actually looking for is connection through that shared dissatisfaction. And also, I think that body criticism and self criticism as a whole has become such a bonding language, especially for girls, right? I mean, how often do women around you say stuff like, I don't feel confident? Do you? For years, automatic kind of response to that is, oh, me too. Yeah, I feel like shit. Oh, I feel so huge today. No, I need to be better too. I mean, I remember standing around in front of the mirror in PE, physical education, with the girls in my class, and we all just stood there and systematically picked on different parts of our body that we didn't like. And it was a bonding ritual. And it really does exchange and like build up this closeness because what it's saying is that we're in this together. We're all trying, we all care. And, you know, fast forward to now, when you may have been working really, really hard on your relationship with food and eating or your body, if you stop participating in that self bashing or that self critique or just openly talking about your plate or your body in a negative light or just opting out of those conversations at all, it can feel a little awkward for everyone. not just you, for them too, right? You're not doing anything wrong by becoming quieter on those topics. It's a good thing, but it might feel a little bit off for you and for other people because what's happening is you're stepping out of a familiar script, a familiar way of being. And I don't know if you've noticed, but there's definitely a moment of silence when you don't mirror the body bashing or join in on the diet chat, about this is, oh, I'm doing this, oh, I'm doing this. If you don't join in, there is this kind of like silent moment and it can feel heavier than the actual conversation itself, that gap. And I think this is why navigating diet or appearance related talk isn't just about food or body at all. A huge part of this is about group dynamics and culture. So have a little think with me about this. Let's ponder. I mean, the world has changed so much recently, as it always does. But the diet culture chat you may be hearing in the staff room or at brunch isn't necessarily in alignment with the 2010 kind of, oh, I'm doing this detox tea chat anymore. It's not the same. It's not so obvious. I mean, in 2026, diet culture hasn't disappeared. We know it's still here, but it's definitely rebranded. And it doesn't necessarily shout about losing weight anymore. I know that's still there, but it's more kind of saying things like, you need to optimize. So it's wearing words like hormone balance, metabolic health, longevity, performance, discipline. Diet culture today has reframed itself as self improvement, biohacking, being your best self. And it makes it really hard to spot, right? And it makes it really hard to opt out of because it can feel a little bit like when you say no to these kind of things and when you say no to diet culture now, it's not necessarily that you're saying no to starting a diet with someone or a weight loss challenge, but it can feel like you're declining wellness. So you're the one who's not trying hard enough to be well and healthy. You're choosing complacency, but that's not it, right? We know that. Let's be clear. Not wanting to intermittent fast, track macros, cut sugar, wear, I don't know, some sort of a monitor, do 75 hard with your colleagues. That doesn't mean that you're opting out of health, but I know it can feel that way, or people can make you feel that way. It does mean that you've decided that your well-being isn't going to be measured on how aggressively you can control your body. And we know health is not proven by participating in any sort of trend. And if you're opting out of optimization culture, that is not the same as opting out of self respect and self care. All right. But I know that you know that. So, example of how this has showed up in my own life was at one of my old workplaces. And honestly, it did get to the point that lunch breaks really started feeling like a bit of a daily nutrition commentary hour. It was so painful. It was so painful. The chat every day in the lunchroom, there was a particular group of women who were always talking about calories and fasting windows and who had lost weight and who was being good. It was just constant, like all of the cliche diet culture stuff. And this was when I was like way at the start of my recovery from binge eating disorder. And at that point, I had stopped skipping lunch and I had brought a meal with me. And I remember someone said, "Oh, wow, Nicole, that's a really decent lunch." There was nothing like cruel about it. It was a very casual, off the cuff comment. But in that moment, I still really felt the urge to like shrink into myself, that tightening. I felt like I had to justify what I had bought, explain it. Felt like I had to say, well, I've been to the gym this morning, so, I need it. This happened really regularly, and I'm sure something similar has probably happened with you, right? But long-term sustainable food freedom actually isn't just about what you eat. Okay. It is about whether you are overriding yourself to stay comfortable in the room and to fit in with everyone else. And that was one of the biggest pieces of work for me, was like learning to opt out of those conversations, to shut them down, to not engage with it, not argue, not correct, to not educate other people on what I was doing. I mean, they didn't need to know that I was recovering from an eating disorder. I also didn't need to tell them off because I was triggered. That is a me thing that I need to deal with. So the real work was like just being able to go and eat my food and not edit myself or try to edit them in the process. Another example is a recent client of mine, and she works in a really corporate environment. She's one of the only women in that environment, and a few of the guys recently has become really obsessed with blood sugar stability. Don't know where they learned this. I think it was off a podcast as well. So they have continuous glucose monitors. They are doing macro breakdowns. They are timing all their meals perfectly, and they talk a lot about strategies or latest podcasts or YouTubes on those kind of topics at work. And this client has been working really hard. She's been working so hard to stop tracking in particular. And by the way, she's given me consent to share this story. And she's just stopped that, and she's found, it's really working for her. The binges have come down. She's been feeling more regulated, trusting herself more. But this conversation in the office has been really triggering. So, what has happened, we figured out, is that she's felt like tracking has become synonymous with being competent in the workplace. And I mean, being a woman in that male dominated field, she already proves like she has to prove herself and that competency way too often. One thing she has said, she doesn't want to track anymore. She knows it's unhelpful. Like logically, she understands all of this. She's seen the positive impact of stopping that tracking, but she feels left behind at the office. And so I just wanted to highlight how important that word is, feeling left behind. Because I think, again, diet talk really activates comparison more than insecurity. Okay, it's less of the "I hate my body" kind of thoughts and more of that, "Am I falling behind? Am I doing good enough?" That competitive edge is really subtle, but it's so powerful. And she didn't start feeling wobbly because someone was talking about macros or calories. She was feeling wobbly because she felt, in comparison to these guys, that she was now less disciplined or not as good or not doing what she should be doing, that she should be trying a little harder with her health. So, is that something that resonates with you? Maybe something you can apply to your own life? So, now let's bring it back to you. Okay. When you're feeling that little shift inside, that tightening, that wobble, it's not random. It's not random. A few things might be kicking in at once. I mean, you start scanning yourself against other people. You start asking yourself things like, am I doing enough? Am I falling behind? And that old achievement part of you starts to perk up. And I mean, many of us are high achievers here. We're high performers. We want to do well. We're perfectionists. That little part of yourself might start to perk up, the one that likes goals and structure and proof that you are on track. And rules that you thought you had outgrown or left behind may start whispering again. You might start hearing things like, maybe I do need to eat less carbs. Maybe I do need to be stricter. Maybe I do need to pull it together. And that can mean old promises, old ways of being can start to resurface. Maybe that quiet little idea that if you just tightened up a little, maybe life would feel cleaner or safer or more in control. So I just want to highlight that if this happens because you've been around that diet talk so much, doesn't mean you're back at square one. Okay. It just means that something familiar, some of that old wiring in your brain has been activated. So, what I wanted to offer you in today's episode is a bit of a diet talk survival guide. You don't need fixing, you don't need to start again, none of that. But diet culture chat is not going to disappear from around you at any time, like ever. really. It's going to pop up. It's going to keep popping up at work, at brunch, at the family dinners, in the changing rooms at the gym, in group chats. It's always going to be there. You're always going to be, thankfully, a part of this world. So you're not escaping it. So what are we going to do? Instead of hoping that you can steer clear of diet culture talk forever, I'm just going to give you a few strategies that you can use when it does show up. You don't need thicker skin, but you do need some tools. So, number one, you're going to choose your role in the room. And this is something I'm always talking about with my clients. You do not need to educate the room. You do not need to debate. You're not required to demonstrate how healed or how neutral you are. And you are not on duty. Okay. Even if you are a therapist or a coach, a teacher, health professional, whatever, you are not everybody's practitioner out there in the wild. And I'll be honest, even I don't try to unpack diet culture every time that I hear it when I'm out there in the world just living my life, because it is relentless. It is never ending and it's all the time. Comes up at my family dinners, comes up in my friendship circles, right? So if I took on the task of trying to break down diet culture every minute of every day, then I would be totally depleted and I couldn't do anything like this. So I do opt out of conversations like that around certain environments or certain people I know I'm not going to be able to really make a difference. And instead, I just let my lived proof, the way that I show up, be the example. And I hope that them seeing the way I move and talk and go through life will be enough. So the second thing, keeping your responses boring. So the more neutral you are in conversations, the better. So I don't track anymore. I'm focusing on feeling steady. Cool that works for you. So just keep it short, keep it calm, take out the edge. Just know that confidence often sounds quite uninteresting, and you don't need to give detailed justifications for everything you do. Okay. Now, number 3 is protect before and repair after. So let's flesh this out properly, okay? Because this is where most women start to trip up a little bit. It's not in the moment when you're immersed in the diet culture talk, it is the before and the after moments. So it's before you walking in, I want you to focus on eating enough. Not, I'll just have something small in case. Not, but I want to save my appetite. I want you to actually eat. If you are going into a diet heavy environment and you've not had enough to eat that day, then it is going to make everything a lot louder. So hunger is going to be amplified. Your low blood sugar is going to make you more reactive. So please just make sure that you set yourself up for some success by eating enough before you go into those environments. Then I want you to remind yourself what you're building, not what you're avoiding, what you're building. So you are building steadiness. You are building trust with your body. And you are building a life that doesn't revolve around shrinking. So go in with that and know your truth, know your why. Be anchored in that. You don't need to brace yourself against diet talk and the environments you're going into. You just need to orientate yourself to your own why. Now, after you leave, what do we need to do? This is where the quiet work happens. So if you notice that after you've been in an environment that is heavy with diet talk, notice if your urges to eat spike. Do you suddenly want to restrict yourself maybe? Are you going to be good tomorrow? Are you going to skip your dinner? Make up for this later. If those kind of things pop up, does not mean you failed, but it does mean that something has clearly been activated. So notice that. Notice, are you replaying what someone said to you or what you heard? Are you replaying, observing other people's bodies or plates? Were you mentally ranking yourself while you were there? Are you thinking that you should tighten things up a bit? So if that's happening, it's just a response. And instead of restriction, we're going to add in some steadiness. Eat your next meal normally. Keep your routine. go for a walk because it feels good, not because you're trying to undo something that you did in the environment, like maybe overeating. Respond with some consistency rather than correction, because that's how you're going to break the cycle. You're going to break the cycle not by overpowering these wobbly moments. It's going to be through refusing to let it escalate, by refusing to spiral any further. So, the last thing I want to share with you with this diet culture survival guide, number 4, is build an identity so it's not so loud. Okay. If your internal narrative is still, I'm not going to mess up, I hope I don't slip, I just need to stay on track, am I doing food and body freedom right now? Then, yeah, any room that is full of diet or body talk is going to feel like a test. Like you're one comment away from failing. Like you are just trying to hold your ground by willpower the whole time that you're there. So, yeah, it's going to feel tense. But if you can start to shift that internal narrative, that identity that you're holding to, well, I'm just not the kind of woman who participates in that kind of chat anymore. Or maybe it's stuff like, that's just not how I relate to food now. There is a real steadiness in there because you're not having to resist the room or resist the talk. You're just not enrolling in it. You're not buying into it. And when you manage to come to that shift, then if you do go into a space and there's lots of diet chatter all around you, then it's not going to impact you quite so much. It's just going to kind of lose its authority over you. You're still going to hear it. It's always going to be there. You might roll your eyes. That would be good. But it's going to start feeling like an invitation that you always have to respond to or push back against. It's going to be a bit of background noise, not invisible completely. Again, we cannot escape it. It's always going to be around us, but it does have less power over you. So this week, what I want you to do, I'm going to invite you to watch these little rituals that might be happening around you. So observe at the office, over brunch, at the gym. I want you to notice how often things like body or food criticism is used as a way to connect. And I want you to notice, what do you feel? What can you feel in the air when you don't join in on that? Notice whether you manage to stay aligned with yourself, whether it feels a little wobbly, whether there's an attention, and just know that you don't have to control the culture. You don't have to respond to stuff all the time. But we want to get to a place where you don't have to keep adjusting yourself to fit in. So that's all for today. I hope that this chitty chat has given you something really solid to stand on. Hope it's been helpful. And if it's resonated, please share with a friend who may need to hear this in her ears right now. And also tell me what's landed. Send me a DM on Instagram or drop a comment to let me know how this has been. I really, really love hearing your takeaways. And also, I personally respond to every one of you. So feel free to reach out anytime. And if you're enjoying the potty, hit follow or subscribe, whatever. It really does help to get this conversation into more women's lives. And that is my big goal in life right now. So I will catch you next week. Take care of yourselves. Bye.